Hey, RetconRaider here. I've got some longer, more comprehensive videos in the works, but today I wanted to toss out a quick little video update about the latest news on Phoenix Point. Now, if you've been keeping a close eye on the campaign, you've probably already heard the big news. But as of May 25th, the Phoenix Point crowdfunding campaign on Fig has officially reached its first stretch goal. Huzzah! Party hats for everyone! Except for you. You don't get one. For those who haven't been keeping track, that means we'll now be getting drivable vehicles in Phoenix Point. The game was already going to have air vehicles for the global strategic layer, but those are only used for transporting squads and resources from one place to another, and wouldn't actually be usable in the turn-based tactical combat system. But with this new stretch goal unlocked, we'll now be able to build or otherwise acquire vehicles that can be used in the game's tactical combat layer, to obliterate aliens with things like tanks and armored personnel carriers. Things that might even, dare I say it, surpass Metal Gear? We've only seen one piece of concept art so far, this APC used by the new Jericho faction. But now that the stretch goal is officially unlocked, we can probably expect to hear and see a lot more about this new mechanic in the coming months. So now that the first stretch goal has been unlocked, what's next? Well, there are 2 more stretch goals, as well as a few new incentives to help us reach them. I touched on it briefly in my Fiction of Phoenix Point video, but they've added a new physical novella, which will collect all of the official Phoenix Point stories, as well as 2 brand new stories that you won't be able to see on the website. They've also added new pledge tiers, such as the Soldier Roster tier, which will let you add your name to the randomized name pool used by recruits in the game, as well as the Weapon Engineer tier, which will make you a part of the Phoenix Point universe by crediting you in certain weapon descriptions, as the engineer who designed them. And for the super fans, there's a new top-tier option, the Founders tier, which will not only put you in the game as an NPC Haven leader and a weapon engineer, but will also let you spend a day palling around with the crew of Snapshot Games in Sofia, Bulgaria. The next stretch goal is set for $850,000, and it will unlock the floating Phoenix base mechanic. We'll already be able to build landlocked bases in the base game, but this stretch goal will allow us to create mobile bases that can travel around the ocean, allowing us a unique tactical advantage, such as the ability to create mobile refueling stations. They teased at just what these bases might look like a couple of weeks ago with this piece of concept art which shows a veritable city built atop the hulls of 2 massive cargo freighters. In that same teaser, they also mentioned that these bases will include a defensive system that consists of remotely operated, floating gun turrets, which will probably be necessary because the ocean is where the Pandora virus is at its strongest. So, while building a floating Phoenix base might come with unique advantages, you'll also have to fight hard to keep those advantages, as your floating bases will almost certainly come under regular assault. At the moment, we're about $195,000 from reaching this stretch goal, but we still have 12 more days. And crowdfunding campaigns generally see a pretty big surge over the last few days. And if worst comes to worst and we do end up missing the goal, Julian Gollop has stated that they might still implement the content as part of a post-launch DLC pack. Might. But the only way to guarantee it will be implemented is if we can reach that goal in the next 2 weeks. Perhaps even more intriguing is the new stretch goal that was just announced: underwater missions. If we manage to reach the $850,000 stretch goal, and then push on to a grand total of at least $1,200,000, then the core game will receive a massive injection of new content. Terror from the Deep style. The floating Phoenix base would let us dabble at taking the fight onto the high seas, but the underwater mission stretch goal would let us take the fight beneath them. We're still light on the specific details, but Snapshot Games tells us that this stretch goal will add all sorts of new things, such as submersible vehicles, specialized aquatic equipment, unique new aquatic enemies, and submerged environments, as well as new story elements that allow you to discover the origin of the unearthly microbial mist. Though I've already speculated on what those origins might be in some of my other videos. Now, we're still a whopping $545,000 from reaching the third stretch goal, but we don't really know what the final surge of pledges will look like. We also don't know if Snapshot Games will be implementing some sort of slacker backer system that will allow people to submit late pledges after the campaign is otherwise officially over. And much like the floating Phoenix base, Julian Gollop has implied that they may still end up using this potential content as part of a post-release DLC pack, if it's not unlocked during the campaign. So hopefully we'll get to enjoy the content, even if it doesn't end up making it into the core game. Beyond that, let's take a quick look at some of the other general update information I haven't talked about yet. First, Snapshot Games has sent a big shout out to Mike Sparks, who pledged a tremendous amount to the project just to push the current total high enough to unlock that first stretch goal. He's got my personal thanks too, because I'll admit it's been agonizing watching the funding total linger just below that $650,000 mark over the past couple of days. Second, Snapshot Games also acknowledged yours truly earlier this week in update number 14 on the official crowdfunding campaign page. That just blows my mind. I'm incredibly honored by the mention, but I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to talk about Phoenix Point. So let's move on. Aside from the shout-out, Snapshot Games has given us all sorts of new information that I'm still mulling over. There are 2 news stories on the official Phoenix Point website. There's a big chunk of new information about the game's soldier class system, and there's some new pieces of concept art, including a couple of monsters and some new weapon renders. I'll be exhaustively analyzing and speculating about a lot of this stuff in some of my upcoming videos, but for now you can check it all out for yourself in the official updates. Don't worry, I'll have some new Phoenix Point videos up over the next week, once I've done a little more research. But for now, this is RetconRaider, signing off. Oh, and remember, while I do love talking about Phoenix Point, you can find out all of the latest news by visiting the official Phoenix Point website, and the official crowdfunding campaign page over on Fig. Links are in the description.